uh, the things are perfectly ready. Okay. Very good evening to all of you guys. Hope I'm audible and visible. Warm welcome to everyone to being part of the internship program here at EduNet. It's good to see you all. Not exactly physically, but I'm happy to see a nice crowd here. And So, guys, a quick introduction about myself, right? My name is Saumya Chaudhary, and I will be looking forward to all of your technical side of the things when it comes to your internship. Okay, and along with me, Pawan sir will also guide you through with all the queries relating to your LMS and everything, right? And as things have been informed to all of you, right, guys. The idea is to be consistent here and work around with whatever doubts you have, and please feel free to ask me anytime, as long as as I said, like, the number of participants here are huge, right? So what just like how sir said, right, we'll be ballparking all your queries up until the end of the session. Okay, and we'll take up the queries there. And obviously, guys, in order to assist you, there's the ask me anything session as well. Okay, as informed correctly by sir here. Okay, so anyways, guys, don't worry about the things here. Okay, and be consistent with the things, and that's perfectly well to do. I believe that's particularly understandable, right? And I hope all of us know that we all are, what do you say, gathered here, right, for the project 2, which is part of your stuff, like the medical diagnosis using AI. Those of us who actually chose that, right? So we are basically going to work on with that. Okay, so before moving forward, guys, let me go ahead and quickly share the screen, and hopefully, guys, let me know if the screen would be visible to all of you. Let me first of all take up the PPT here, and all right. So just give me a moment. I have it here, and let me click on share once. Okay, I've selected. Okay, so guys, I hope the screen is visible to all of you. Let me go to the stuff here. Okay, guys, some people say that the voice is pretty low. Is that so, guys? Am I audible to all of you? Am I audible to all of you? Perfect. So is the screen visible, guys? Can anybody confirm once? Okay, perfect. So screen is visible. Thank you so much, guys. Okay. No, sir. Clear voice visible. Uh, okay. Okay. Clear voice visible, sir. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So, all right. So that's great. So thank you so much, guys, for confirming here. Okay. As I said, guys, my name is Saumya Chaudhary, and I'll guide you further regarding the project here. Okay. So without any delay, let's begin. So, guys, before I even talk about the things, right? Guys, make sure to understand one thing. Let me use some kind of what do you say, new slide. Maybe I will add up a new slide after this. Okay, I'll say new slide maybe. Yeah, I think this is pretty fine enough if I talk about. Uh, let me see if I can. No, this won't be suggestible, I believe. Okay. Delete this maybe. Yeah. All right. That's fine enough. Let's go back here. All right, guys. So move forward with the things. Okay. So, guys, hopefully, all the things are perfect. Okay. And so I don't know how do I see the chat. Yeah, I think on top. Yeah. All right. So guys, as I said, sir will be back after, I mean, at the end of the uh, lecture and stuff, right? And we'll associate all your doubts. You can write them down on the Q&A section, okay? And in the meantime, let's move forward, okay? So considering everything is fine and stuff, let's go ahead and work around with the things, okay? So, guys, first of all, let me see how to make this in presentation view. Hopefully the presentation is visible to all of you. And let me go here. So guys, I hope things are quite clear. So guys, as I have already mentioned once, right, there are a few things pretty important if I talk about, guys. Okay, so when you talk about your projects and stuff, right, very important thing if I talk about is nothing but like first of all, you should know that you have to prepare prepare a report. Okay, that report actually means like what do you say, document plus PPT. Okay, so for each one of them, like for each one of you, you must prepare a report, right? That's what you are going to wind up doing at the end, right, after you create the project and everything, right? And post that, if you talk about, right, make sure to be attentive, okay, for whatever is being discussed in the what do you say, in the session here. Okay, make sure to be attentive, guys, and your attendance, right, is a mandatory criteria as well. Okay, so make sure to do all these three things, right? And I mean, it's pretty easy and pretty fun to work around with the concepts here, because I mean, as we all know, right, it deals with AI in specific, right? So let me go ahead and hopefully, guys, it's understandable by all of us, right? Let me use this arrow options for now. Okay. So all right. So, guys, as I said, right, make sure to have a look into the context here, right? So, without further delay, guys, right, let's look into the agenda here, right? So, for which all of you are gathered together, right? So, guys, like as we can see, right, the whole, I mean, the project actually revolves around the medical diagnosis, which is being, which can be done using the AI. Okay, so if you talk about in the context here, right? So I think, guys, we all know, right? Nowadays, AI has touched upon. And I mean, you think of any domain, right? You have AI incorporated in that domain as well, right? So does happen with the medical field as well, right? And nowadays, if you talk about, right, if I set up a little background, right, we all know, right, that I mean, diagnosing, what do you say, or maybe if I talk about, diagnosing different medical conditions, right? It's a very tedious process for all doctors, because the fact is, right, if you look into it, right, so the number of doctors in, like, let's say, a country like India, if you talk about, right, where the number where we have a humongous amount of population, or the number of people who in India have, like, it's huge, right? So we all, I think, understand one thing, that doctors face a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to diagnosing or looking into the diseases which are like, very, very, what do you say, problematic to talk about, right? So in the context here, right, so and the idea is fairly simple. If I talk about in the context that if you talk about the different, if when a patient has different kinds of diseases, right, if I talk about it, right, and diagnosing it, when, especially when he's having multiple number of problems, right, that becomes a very big challenge, right, if you talk about, right. So, but I think we all understand, right, that how AI, like, if you talk about, right, AI has eased, we all know, right, that AI has eased in all the domains which are pretty much part of it, right, if you talk about, right. So the context here remains the same, right? For you think of any domain, right, be it starting off from maybe in the material sector, or maybe in the space sector, in the chemical sector, right? You name anything, me textile sector, or anything, you name it, right? Now, since we are generating huge amount of data, right? So I hope you all understand that, uh, yeah, guys, you will be getting recorded lectures and everything, right? He has already informed that all of these things will be available. Okay, don't worry about it, right? Um, so I hope it's particularly clear for all of us. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, and yeah, so as I was talking about, right, guys, let's pay attention to the current project which we are dealing with, right? So we all understand, right, that it's a huge problem for the doctors, right? If you talk about, or talking about the healthcare industry, where especially, right, talking about the huge population which we have in India, right? Looking into those aspects is a very challenging stuff, right? If you talk about, right? So the idea here is, right, our project is basically to help those doctors. So guys, whenever you create a project in mind, whenever you want to go ahead and work around with a project, right? So you should understand the outcome of it, like what all the things, um, in this, can we make, yeah, you can, Samiksha, you can definitely create heart disease prediction, because it comes under the sector of medical diagnosis, right? Yes, you can do that. Okay, so hopefully we can understand that, right? And yes, do we have to submit all three things? Yes, the project, the PPT, and document report, yes, all of it. Okay, so all of these things are pretty, I hope it's particularly clear, right? So, and anyways, guys, don't worry about it, it's still basic to start off, right? Don't let's move forward. Okay, yeah, so as I was talking about, right, we approach, like, if I talk about, right, healthcare, but the idea is pretty straightforward, right? To help in medical diagnosis. Okay, and for a more accurate, right, guys, I hope you can understand the different kinds of problems. Number one, it's not just the number of patients, obviously huge amount of patients, huge number of patients which we have in India, especially because talking about 130, in fact now it is 150 crore people, if you talk about, right, have many, like, almost many of the people, right, face issues, diagnosing different kinds of and are diagnosed with different kinds of, what do you say, diseases, right? So the idea here is to help the doctors in order for a better and faster diagnosis, right? I hope you can understand, as the number of patients also increase, right? Even if the doctor is efficient enough, right, the efficiency does not remain that high, okay? Because I mean, on an everyday basis, if you see hundreds and hundreds of patients, right, you have to go forth and maybe make the process faster or diagnose them faster, and that way you might like they might miss out on some critical aspects, right? So hopefully we can understand, guys, that it's going to hugely impact or hugely help people from the healthcare setup or the medical if I talk about the medical industry, right? So I hope it's particularly clear. So let's move forward and have a few things to look into it. Okay, so guys, the overall content, if you talk about, right, it would be like, guys, when you develop your PowerPoint presentation, you must have these pointers along, right? So a course outline, what it does about, or the project outline, you're going to mention it as maybe project internship project outline, right? So if you talk about, right, so you have so any classic project, right, which you do, guys, right, has these usual steps, right? You have the problem statement, you have the proposed solution as to what is the final, I mean, what kind of problems are you solving, right? You have the software requirement, where you talk about the softwares which you are potentially taking or using to solve out the problem, right? In this context, if I talk about, right, obviously since we are in the domain of data science, right, if you talk about, right, we are going to probably, like most of us, I hope you can understand that we are going to use Python, right, to sort out the problem. So Python being a very, what do you say, human friendly language, right, or otherwise also known as a high level language. If you talk about, more closer towards human beings, you can say it like that, right? So and very easy to interpret, right? So, and it's like an interpreter. I mean, if you talk about, you do the coding on the Python interpreter, right, which happens to be line by line, right? So if you talk about, right, so, and it's easy to read in terms of syntax. And on top of it, why Python? I hope we all know that it has huge, right? I must say huge support for libraries, right? Especially, like, it's more than, if you talk about 200,000, that's 2 lakh, more than 2 lakh libraries are there in Python, right? Greater than, this is greater than symbol, by the way, guys. Okay, more than 2 lakh, what do you say, libraries out there in Python, right? So they have been specialized, like these libraries, I mean, they have wide different variety of usage, right? Not just in text data processing. You can think of image data processing, video data processing, PDFs. I mean, essentially, PDFs are nothing but text, right? I hope you can understand the context here, right? So huge libraries for sorting out different sorts of problem, right? So that's why we tend to talk about Python in its essence here, right? And on top of it, right, if I talk about, right, so we have the, like, so that's the primary software requirement, right, and the different kinds of modules which we are going to use to sort out the problem, right? And then we'll talk about the system architecture. This is very important, guys. Okay, this is how your overall system will perform, right? So what are the steps you are going to take? Let's say collecting the data set, then from there processing the data set to make it free from the null values and stuff, right? All of these things would be part of the system architecture, right? The project plan as well, if you talk about, right, how you are going to execute the project is what is told in the project plan, right? You have the video of the project, right? That's a must, guys. Okay, you need to have at least a 30-second video recording of your project. Okay, so you put it, so you'll see there, like in our forthcoming section in the PPT, you'll see a section where it says video of the project, right? So at least, if I talk about, right, a 30-second video maybe, which because guys, I think you all understand that we are going to create create the project on the Jupyter Notebook environment, which is technically used as an IDE to solve, or if I talk about, I hope everyone knows what IDE is, right? So if I talk about it, right, otherwise also known as integrated development environment. Okay, so I hope all of us are particularly especially ones who are from the computer science background, right? We develop code in these IDs, we write code on these IDs. Okay, and it's a one-stop solution to almost whatever problems you think of, right? So I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone, guys. Okay, so for our purpose, like of for your purpose, guys, you're going to use what do you say, maybe the Jupyter notebook, right? So Jupyter notebook for your executions and stuff, right? Or many of you might be using like VS Code, right? These are full-fledged IDs, right? VS Code, if you talk about, right, a development environment, if you talk about, right? So there are others as well, if you talk about in the context here. Okay, so guys, PyCharm is also an IDE, right? Might You might have heard about it, right? So many of them are there, right? So if you talk about Spider, SPYDER, right? I hope you can understand. Jupyter Lab is also an ID. So these are all platforms or places where you develop your full-fledged code, right? They are fully, that's why you call them IDEs, right? So because they are one-stop solution to almost anything which you can think of, right? So, but I hope we all can understand the context here, right? And then, as I said, the execution of the video, right? If I talk about, right, how the project is, you started off with maybe a small, what do you say? You opened your IDE, or maybe your, what do you say? Maybe your Jupyter notebook, right? And then from there you launch the code, because guys, we are going to do something called as deployment, right? DEP. Sorry guys, pardon my handwriting here. Okay, so let me go ahead and use the eraser maybe. Yeah, so we are all, I hope you can understand, guys, we are going to deploy, right, our code as well, right? For deployment, we are going to use something called as a Python package called as Streamlit. Okay, so pretty straightforward to talk about, guys. We're going to look at how easy it is to deploy the project, right? I hope it's understandable. And once you deploy it, you take like a small video of your project, right? How it is like diagnosing the stuff. Okay, so that's the video of the project. You can talk about the future scope, like what do you want to implement next maybe, and stuff, right? So hopefully, guys, it's particularly clear for everyone. Okay, and there's the last section called as conclusion, right? So we'll talk about the few things, right, as it progresses, right? So next, we just like, I hope you can understand, guys, always a project always begins with a problem statement. In this case, since we are talking about diagnosis, medical diagnosis using AI, if you talk about, right? So in this context, right, you can, like, there's a sample written. Okay, so guys, do not take a copy from directly here. It's just a sample for your reference, how a problem statement looks like. So associate the problem at first, right? I hope you can understand. We just discussed about two problems, right? Like huge number of, what do you say, patients, right, in the medical industry. So for each doctor, if you talk about, right, so right? So I hope you can understand that one of the problems for which obviously you need to develop a solution, right? Then you might want to talk about, like, let's say like a huge amount of data itself, right? Huge amount of data that is getting generated, right? Being generated, right? So if you look into, right, nowadays we have very, what do you say, highly I mean sophisticated what do you say, equipments, right? Are there, right? So these equipments are very much like, I mean, they capture a lot of accurate information, right? And it could be in the form of, right, the kind of data which we receive, right, in the field of medical science. If I talk about, right, if you talk about ultrasound, right, maybe, right, if you talk about any ultrasound, right, that's in the form of a image, right? If I talk about, right, if you are going forward and doing what do you say, blood test, right, maybe it's in the form of a text based report, right? Ultrasound, I have maybe image, right? If I just were to classify, blood test maybe in the form of text based data, especially in the form of tables and stuff, right? So you generate, the idea is you generate a lot of data in different things, right? And talking about one single doctor, right, handling multiple number of patients, I mean, it is quite frustrating, right? So that's why, guys, even though there are sophisticated equipments who are easing the process, you should understand one thing, that the report which is getting generated, right, from the equipment, like be it in the text form, be it in the image form, or whatever, right, that is also being seen by some of the human being who is a, maybe in this case, which we are talking about, is doctor, right, who is looking into it, right, and saying that, okay, based on these values you have maybe cervical cancer, based on these values you are having a tumor, right, or whatever, right, xyz thing, right? But the whole idea behind talking about each and every thing which we are discussing here, right, is to make things easier for the human, I mean human, who's basically the doctor here, right? And on top of it, right, I think you can understand that this is not just the problem. You can think of one more problem being, like, let's say, I mean, delayed analysis, right? If I talk about delayed analysis, right, analysis, right? Because I think you can understand, right? Because obviously, since there are huge records, right? The person also, because things are getting done manually, right? It takes a lot of time to, and a lot of effort to do that, right? Number four, if I talk about prone to errors, right? As long as we have human beings in checking something, right? Obviously, I mean, that's why we say, right, doctors are not god, but because of the fact that they, obviously everyone makes mistakes, right? We all are human beings, we might make some kind of mistake at some point in time, right? So but I hope you can understand that this might increase the risk, right? So imagine a imagine this scenario, guys, right? Suppose by mistake a doctor said that you're looking at the report, it seems like you're I mean, you are free. I mean, you are a free person. Like there is no cancer or something in those lines. But imagine that I mean, if there is suppose that actually based on the report, right, it turns out that the person actually has cancer. In that case, imagine the kind of loss which is going to happen, right? I hope we all can understand the concept here, right? So, and just because the doctor said that in the early diagnosis, the doctor said that no, you don't have cancer, so you are good to go, right? They might not like the patient might not pay more attention to it and might not do the recheckup, and that way maybe after some months or for some years, when he does the recheckup again, right, he's found that he has already reached stage 3 or stage 4, which is an incurable form, right? I hope you can understand, guys, right? That's what is very, like, I hope all of us understand that these small use cases require us to have what do you say, a lot of things put into the medical diagnosis section, right? If I talk about, right? So hopefully you can understand, guys, that this is what I wanted to talk about. Right now, let's move forward. If I talk about the different challenges, right? So we just already talked about it, but just to give you that stake here, right? Like, obviously the data in the medical world is highly complex, right? And I mean, a lot of just like how we discussed an example, right? High stakes, because if it is a cancer, obviously you are putting life on the line. If it is a very small thing, like maybe a headache, that's fine. That's fine, right? So the doctor was not able to diagnose us correctly. Maybe he's busy with something, or maybe a little bit, some of the doctors might be inexperienced and stuff, right? So the whole idea here is, right, to be cautious about the things, right? So it's not a big stuff to talk about, right? If it is just a headache, right? A normal headache, which is not implying migraine and stuff like that. So if it is just a simple headache, right, it's low stake, you can talk about, right? But high stake is like, just like the cancer kind of a situation, and then by mistake, the doctor is not able to diagnose the things, go off the toss. I hope you can understand this, right? Data overload, if you talk about, because I told you, right, we are generating a humongous amount of data nowadays, right? So if you talk about past medical history, because nowadays everything is I hope you can understand, I mean, it's the age of electronic health record, or the EHR system, right? If you talk about, right, so things are existing electronically, right? So I mean, you might have seen, right? When you visit a hospital, right, they give whatever details has happened, or the historical overview of the details which has happened with the patient, right? So that's why over a period of time, it obviously there are most of the people go to the doctors and stuff. So you have a lot of data to be analyzed, right? So again, talking about human intervention here is not an advisable thing. Then, misdiagnosis risk. That's what we discussed, right? So what if you miss out on a very important point, right? That's life threatening, right? And that might lead to a lot of chain of people being what do you say, sad about it, right? So I hope you can understand, right? And challenges in disease complexity as well as the, because obviously, guys, I think you can understand, there are few people, like many people who are diagnosed with multiple different diseases, right? So it is very difficult to analyze humanly that what is this happening for. Okay, so that actual cause of identification, identifying that particular cause is a very tedious task, if you talk about, right, as the complexity. So making accurate decisions would be a very tedious task, right? And that's why I hope we all understand and appreciate the fact that there is a need for, all of these suggest or point to one thing, that indeed there is a need for sorting out this particular big problem. Right now, moving forward, guys, if I talk about the proposed solution, right? So here, obviously, whatever you are going to go about looking into it, right? So AI can streamline medical diagnosis by analyzing large volumes, right? That's the whole point, right? So the case history, the labs or imaging, whatever, just like how we talked about the ultrasound images and stuff, right? If you talk about, right, in high pressure settings like emergency rooms, right, AI can help detect critical conditions, right? So I hope you can understand, monitoring is very easy, right? Unless I mean, obviously, guys, right, if the number of patients increase, right, monitoring each of them humanly might not be possible, right? So that way you can, so an AI can attempt to help you with the sort of things as well. Okay, so processing EHR, right? I think I used this particular term earlier, right? The electronic health records, right? Effectively, AI ensures no crucial data is overlooked. Like, oh, obviously, right? Faster and more informed decisions over a like resource limited scenario. I think it's needless to describe it further. All of us are now aware of it, right? Improved accuracy reduces diagnosis delays, right? I hope you can understand, guys, right? So that's how the results improvise, right? Because those things which can be done by an AI should be actually given to the AI to sort out the problem, right? Not maybe not take very crucial decisions, but at least on the upfront of the doctors, right? These things can be, it can help. Guys, I have always said that AI is a assistive technology. It is not a technology which is, many of the people think that AI is going to take jobs, right? It's just that you have to be, obviously, because human beings created the AI, right? So you have to be smarter than the AI in order to prevail on this challenging world, right? But you should know how to utilize AI for the betterment of the society, right? That's what it is for. Okay, so practicing, I mean, having ethical practices in all of these things is crucial, guys. Okay, so hopefully we understand. So when we talk about the software requirements, we're going to look into it in detail, as well as when we'll also demonstrate the project, guys. Okay, don't worry about it, and we'll get a brief idea about how the demonstration works out. Okay, so we're going to use Streamlit, which is basically a small, I mean, it's like a web application. Okay, it's a module which can help you create a web application, right? So I hope you can understand the context here, right? And it's basically very simple. People with very low knowledge of the front end, right, easily would be able to create. So I hope everyone knows this term front end, right? In terms of what do you say, software cycle, if you talk about, right? A front end is what you see, right? The presentation part of the things, right? So easily, I mean, Streamlit is a quick solution for an easy deployment, right? Not if you don't want, like, obviously you can do a lot of fancy things using Streamlit as well. Okay, it's a full one-stop solution, but the basic things can easily be done. Like, you want to host it on the website, okay, and see if the app is working fine or not. You can do that using the front end, right? So using Streamlit, right? Then the back end, we are obviously, I hope all of us are aware of this symbol, or this icon, I should say. We all know, right? This is Python, right? So in fact, we are specifically going to use Python 3, or the latest one of Python, if I talk about, right? So, and then, guys, obviously, these are the few models which we are going to talk about, right? Given the machine learning segment of the things, right? So hopefully we understand the context here, right? If I talk about, right? So when you talk about the models, right? SVM stands for, what do you say? I'll just quickly write it down for you. Support vector machine. Okay, so SVM. By the way, guys, I hope everyone knows what a model is. A model is, you can call it as an algorithm, right? Or those of us who know what algorithm actually is, it's nothing but a set of steps, right? Like, for example, the steps you take to make or create tea is the algorithm for tea making, right? If you talk about, right? So SVM, if I talk about, is support vector machine. It is one of, what do you say, a classic, what do you say, classification uh, based algorithm, which is pretty much used, widely, guys. Okay, so to separate the classes and help you with the same, right? Then there is logistic regression. Okay, so logistic regression, again, if I talk about, is one more algorithm, or if you talk about one more model, if you talk about, right, which is going to help you with classification. Okay, although it says regression, it is used for classifying. Okay, got it. So because a logistic regression pretty much looks like this, right? So if you talk about, right, half of the binary classes on one side, okay, the other half on the second side, right? So you can say that these data points which are located here, maybe, versus the data points which are located here, particularly, I don't know why it's not. Yeah. So data points which are particularly located here versus the ones which are located on top, right? If you talk about the context, right? So they can, I mean, the logistic regression can help you categorize it easily. Okay. So, and then there is random forest, right? It's just like how the word suggests, right? If you talk about, right? It is, I mean, a random forest is a cluster of decision trees. So DT1, DT2, maybe DT3 and DTN, so on and so forth, right? So decision trees, right? So they obviously you use the word tree, that means like a tree, like a structure, right? You make decisions at every point, right? So based on the conditions which are there, right? So you make decisions at every point, right? So you create, so when obviously everyone knows, right, what is a forest is basically a cluster of trees, right? So you have more, if you have more number of trees, right, you call you call this particular thing as a forest, right? So a random forest, right? So you take the context here, and then you go about looking into the concepts, right? So you take the results of individual decision trees, right, and based on majority voting, like obviously how is the I hope you can understand how is the prime, maybe how is the government selected, based on the majority voting, right here, right? So based on whichever, like, so is performing the best, if you talk about, right, you might want to go ahead and take that into consideration, right? So we use like sklearn, or also, by the way, guys, sk is scikit, 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 or scientific kit learn, okay, library, which is one of the best libraries, which contains, all of these models. Okay, so it is a library. The best thing about ml, right, is you can go about directly downloading the sklearn library, and then using it, using the specific models within the library to sort out the problem. Okay, that's how it works out, right? And then furthermore, obviously, once you do that, you want to go ahead and deploy, okay, in your Streamlit cloud application, right? So I hope it's particularly understandable, guys. As and when we progress and see into it, you will have a better idea of what we are discussing here, okay? So for now, I'm just giving you an overview as to what it talks about, right? Then now, guys, see, I told you, right, every system which you develop or every project which you do, right, has an architecture of its own, right? So the way it is created, okay, what all things you can expect out of it, right? So just like that, guys, I would like all of you, right, to put the system architecture once you go ahead and create the project, right? It's like, for example, you collected the medical data set from different sources, right? Maybe based on the different symptoms of the diseases and stuff, right? If you talk about, right, especially maybe different from different reports and everything. Maybe some of us might be interested into working with image-based data. They are welcome to do that. Okay, so some of us are wanting to work with text-based data. Welcome to do that, right? So you can look into all of those things as well, right? So the idea is to collect the medical data set records, if you talk about, right, and then moving forward, the pre-processing step, which is nothing but, if you talk about, right, once you collected the data, right, the idea is you want to process the data, which is involving, particularly if you talk about two different processes, right? You want to do the cleaning of the data, like, for example, if there are null values or values which are blank, right? So obviously they don't add any meaning to your data, right? So you want to go ahead and either, so guys, it's very important to understand one thing, that what would you like to choose? Like, do you want to go ahead and remove those null values? But obviously, if you remove it, right, you might go ahead and lose a lot big chunk of data, if you talk about, right, because and but however, right, you should understand that there's other thing called as imputing, right? So under data cleaning, if you talk about, right, you can either remove the entire column. Maybe I'll maybe write it here for you. Okay, you can either maybe remove rows, okay, and you can also do something like imputation, right? Imputation simply means, right, replacing the values. Okay, if it is, because guys, the whole idea is retain as much data as possible. Okay, because the more data you have, the better your machine learning model will be trained and stuff, right? We're going to see that in action as well. Don't worry about it, guys, when we look into the practical aspect. As of now, we are discussing about the what do you say, PPT aspect, or in fact, the motivation of the project. Because guys, understand this, you have to submit all of these details, and then most of your work is going to be also part of your theory as well. Okay, so data transformation is you go about what you say, changing the form of data to the required stuff, right? Maybe if you talk about in the context that, like, if it is in the raw form, right, you might want to go ahead and change it to the required form by processing or using some formulas and stuff, right? I hope you can understand the concept, right? If there is a mismatch in the units, right, if something is in kilogram and the others are in grams, right, you probably want to go ahead and change them to one of the units, right, so that, yeah, there is consistency, right? Okay, consistency in the data, right? Obviously, you don't want to go ahead and mess up with the data, right? So I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone. Okay, so this is particularly what I wanted to talk about, guys. And moving forward, you have disease symptoms, you have maybe like whatever the disease symptoms, visible, it could be visible symptoms, or maybe what do you say, report-based symptoms, right? I hope you can understand, right? Based on that, that becomes your feature. What do you say? Variable, or say feature vector, right? If you talk about, right? So you talk about because these are the ones which are going to help you. This is also called as feature extraction as well. Okay, so which is going to help you with this could, like, most of the time it is in the numerical form as to what it talks about. Like, for example, if your heart rate is more than I mean, if it is near to 200 or 180, technically you can't have it. So, but that suggests that you have a really, I mean, you might be having a lot of anxiety and other disorders, right? I hope you can understand, right? So that's what is what you talk about in terms of the symptoms, right? Apply, you can then apply, like, once everything is sorted out, right? Once you have done the cleaning, done the transformation, right? And then sorted out, or which features do you want to take or contributing for your what do you say, project, right? You are then going to go ahead and apply your apply the ML model, right? If you talk about ML or deep learning model, whatever you have taken, like SVM, just like we talked about, logistic regression, maybe a random forest in this case, or whatever, right? So then you have prediction model, right? Obviously, once you create the model, you want to predict the values, or in fact, you want to go ahead and classify, right? Maybe it could be a classification like whether you have cancer or not, whether a person has diabetes or not, right? This is called as a kind of like a what do you say, predicting the value in terms of its classification, right? So you create something like a prediction model, right? And then you do, like, obviously you can understand that medical test data. So you already have the data set, right? You're going to split the data, or you can have new data, because the idea here is, right, whatever model you have created, you want to go ahead and test it on real-time data, right? You created the model, right? Now that the model tells you whether he's having cancer or not, right? You want to go ahead and see it, whether it works for new records, right? That's what you talk about in terms of medical test data, right? So test data pre-processing, if you talk about, in case it is necessary, right, you can go about doing the cleaning and stuff, right? Just like how we discussed. And then if you have what do you say, test data in the I mean, if you use the feature vector, or whatever feature you have selected, right? You go about looking into that, right? And obviously you have what do you say, you want to feed all of these to your prediction model. Okay, because you created the model, you want to feed the data, new data, to your model, and see how it is responding. Is it responding correctly, or it is responding incorrectly, right? So that's how you modify your model, right? So I hope you can understand the context here. Then post that, guys, obviously the disease is predicted, right? And you want to go ahead and maybe talk about the deployment. So once the disease is predicted, you can also say you can increase one more line there, saying that maybe deployment of the product, what do you say, product on the using Streamlit, right? So that becomes a system architecture. You create something like this, right? Something like a flow chart diagram of the entire system, right? Whichever you have taken, right? Next, moving forward, guys, obviously there's a project plan, right? Understand objective and requirements. You collect the relevant data, clean the data for checking the errors, right? Obviously, then you train the model as per the requirement, if you talk about, right? And then evaluate the model for the accuracy, right? There's pretty much all of those things. And then you want to go ahead and develop a web application, deploying and preparing documentation. Guys, very, very, very point number 8. And once you are done with your project and everything, it is important for preparing documentation of the project and also submit on LMS with the presentation. Okay, so the document plus presentation PPT, it should be part of your stuff. Okay, and the document can contain what do you say, your code as well, whatever you have used. Okay, and obviously the PPT should contain the video, okay, of the deployment which you have done. Okay, so all of these things should be part of it, and hopefully you all got an idea about how the things work out overall, right? And the video, then you have the, like, you can mention the future scope if there are any, right? If you talk about, like, in this context, you have the expanded disease coverage, right? Obviously, right, we can talk about various personalized treatment, because obviously now if AI is being used as assistive technology, right, you can use it for personalized treatment as well. Okay, because for each individual there is a different path to follow, right? So you can do, what do you say, wearable integration, all sorts of things. So you can mention all of those things in your future scope. Whatever else, I mean, what do you say, you can also mention a few more things which you think appropriate as well. Okay, so hopefully it's understandable by everyone, and post that, obviously a nice friendly conclusion is very, 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 very important, guys. Okay, so at the end you talk about like what all things you did, right? So maybe deployed on Streamlit, it says, right? So you do the deployment, you use different kinds of machine learning algorithm, or maybe deep learning algorithm to enhance disease detection or whatever, right? So whatever the diseases you have taken, right, we are going to look into it, guys. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, preliminary diagnosis that can be seen, talk, like, we can talk about that as well. Okay, and user friendly, if you have made a nice interface of UI. Okay, so I hope we can Gana, I think you can understand that it is you who have to work on this internship. Okay. However, the code repository will be available. The video recordings are also available and everything. Okay. But the idea here is, I mean, learn from yourself, because you have 4 weeks of time to go ahead and create the entire project, understand it and stuff. Okay. And that's why I am explaining it here. Okay. So it's, yeah, can we do a mental health chatbot? Okay. You can say, yeah, definitely, Rochelle, you can create a mental health chatbot. That will be a brilliant thing, right? And for diagnosis, you can talk about medical diagnosis, right? So I hope that's particularly understandable by everyone. So Ayush, I said I don't like, I'm not going to take, I'm just in the middle randomly going into the chat and looking into it, but I'm not going to reply it right away, because as I said, guys, there are 811 people who have joined, right? And we also have to look into the project and everything, right? So we are going to anyways talk about it. Okay, so I'll take up few of the questions at the end of it, right? So yeah, okay, nice, interesting question. Prasad has says, how do we draw the flow chart? Okay, perfect. So let me show you something interesting, guys. Okay, so so that we can understand. Okay, so let me stop the screen share from this. Okay, and let me go about maybe end the slideshow. This was all about the, what do you say, guys? the PPT part of the things. Okay. So, and maybe guys, yeah. So let me answer one question here. In fact, I actually had it in mind to look into that. Okay. So let me go ahead and quickly share the screen. Let me show you here, guys. Look at this. So some of the people asked me about how to go ahead and what do you say, draw the flows, right? You know, guys, there's a tool. Let me, I hope I shared my complete screen. Are you able to see the Google Chrome window, guys? Can you just let me know so that I am not missing out on the things? Are you able to see the Google Chrome window? Yes, guys. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, perfect. So let's have a look. Okay. So guys, there is a website called as draw.io. Okay. So you know the best thing about this website, you can see, right? It says flowchart maker. I think you can understand, guys, like this you can create a flow chart of your own. Okay. So it's very easy, very believe me, as it's very easy to create a flow chart here. Okay, I can probably say maybe if you want to show the database, right, on the left hand side you can see that there is a cylinder right on the left hand side. I can click on the cylinder, make the cylinder here, maybe medical data set collection. Okay, whatever, right? I'm just giving you an example here, right? You can see, guys, the moment you hover over this, right, you will see these pointers pointing to top, down, left, and right. Okay, so I can click, I can just hover over there and go to this particular, I mean, select any other one as well. Okay, so I hope you can see, guys, right? Most of the things are already available, right? And you can maybe say data cleaning, and you know, double click, just double click on it. Okay, and you would be able to edit the box. It's very easy. And you know, again, if I want to go down this time, okay, I can probably take this, maybe something in those lines, right? Maybe data preparation, or maybe or EDA analysis or whatever, right? I'm just writing it in the context here. I hope everyone knows EDA is actually exploratory data analysis. Okay, here you create like some graphs to understand what it talks about, right? So I'm just giving you an example, guys. Okay, you can do a lot of interesting things, and you know, the best thing about it, you can click on it, and if you want to have more number of color options, that's also possible. Okay, you can do a lot of things, guys. Okay, it's just that you have to have the will to do it. That's it. Okay, so and once you're done with everything, right, it's very easy to export it. You can click on the left hand side with file. Okay, and you can just say that maybe there's the option called export as. Okay, under file you can go to export as, and you can export it in different formats, right? You all know, like PNG form, you have JPEG and others, right? A lot of different forms, right? I hope you can understand, right? So I think you can understand the context here, guys. That's how it works out. Okay, so and all you need to do is click on export, right? So if you talk about, right, and it's going to give me draw.io, I want to save it in the device, and maybe I'll just click on save. The moment I do that and go to my folder here, just to show you here, guys. Okay, I'm back to the folder. I can double click here and have a look at it. You can see, guys, it's pretty easy to create one. Okay, and obviously this is an image. You can always use this image to make it part of your setting. Is it? I hope it's particularly clear for everyone. Okay, it was a little bit of a demonstration about how the things work out. Okay, in these setup. Okay, so bottom line is you can use draw.io. You can there's a website called draw.io which you can use to draw it. Okay, so hopefully it's understandable by all of us. Perfect. Template for all those. Yeah, I mean, all of these templates where will be, I mean, will be part of it. Okay, don't worry. So in your, I think in your LMS, it will be already, you'll already get it. Okay, so don't worry about that. So anyways, guys, let's move forward. And I just wanted to talk about one more important thing. I think, yeah, I will probably go to this PC and I'll go to internet, capstone. I'll show you guys one more important thing to talk about, right? You all saw the PPT. right? I hope everyone is saw that. Okay. Now, I told you, right? You need to submit a PPT as well as second thing is document. Okay. When I talk about the document looks pretty much like this. If you talk about, right, this is what we are going to submit. Okay. Obviously, make sure to edit the name of the title and stuff, and make sure to put the track. In this context, you are AICT, what do you say, internship. I mean, that's the, I mean, based on the phase 4, right? So phase 4 AICT internship and stuff. And by, you can mention there are not multiple number of students. So there's only one of you who is going to make it. So just put your single name there. Okay. And under the guidance of, you can mention my name here. And overall, like, obviously all of these things are pretty straightforward. You might have already used that and stuff. Okay. Hopefully it's understandable. Then obviously, guys, make sure to have a nice abstract of the project. Okay. Like what do you think, like a summary, right? An abstract is like a summary of the entire project, right? So why do you think, like a brief introduction to the entire thing, right? So you can say, you can address the alarming problem, and then looking forward to how to sort out that problem, right? So I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone, guys. So not, I mean, you can see not exceeding 300 words, very small one. You create your own, as a matter of fact, right? You have the abstract, the figures, tables and others, right? If you talk about, right, you have different chapters, right? Having the problem statement, the motivation, you have objectives, you have the scope of the project, right? So why, already we have discussed it in detail, guys. I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone. Guys, are you able to see this arrow mark and this, what do you say, square I have made? Arrow mark, square, are you able to see this? I use pointers generally, guys. Is it visible to all of you? I am using those for, let me check the responses maybe. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Praneeth Babu, I think, yeah, you'll get it. But that's you. I mean, it's as of now, you guys have just started and stuff, right? Sir will let you know where all these things are available. Don't worry about it. Okay. As of now, I'm just showing it to you. Okay. To understand the context here. Okay. So the scope of the project, you have the literature review. Literature review, guys, very, very, very important, right? Whatever survey you did, this is also, it's called as literature survey. Some people call it as literature review and stuff, right? If you talk about, right? So all right. So the literature survey, right, is basically nothing but what all literature did you follow up in your project, right? For example, you are using maybe, like, obviously you're going to use pandas maybe for data frame, right? So you're going to go to the online source where you collected the data from, right? And or information from, and then you are going to mention it in the survey, right? Then the proposed methodology, as you talk about, like, so I hope you can understand. Literature survey gives a complete idea about how, or complete description about the literature, of the project, right? Whatever you have used in the project, right? So you describe about pandas, you describe about what is scikit-learn, right? You describe about uh, the different models you have used, right? And make it a habit, guys. When you do the literature survey, okay, guys, very important thing simultaneously, right? Because you are going to use the online sources to find different literature, right? So there is a section called references. Okay. So which, where it's the reference is like a credits, right? For all of us who know about movies, right? At the end of the movies, you have the credit scene, right? Where did you, I mean, who did what, right? And stuff, right? So in this context here, if you talk about the literature survey, like, for example, let me give you an example. Okay. Let's say pandas, maybe definition, or maybe definition in Python, whatever. I just randomly wrote it. Okay. Pandas introduction. So suppose I click on this website. Okay, you find out that I hope you can understand on top it says W3 schools and everything, right? Slash Python, pandas and stuff, right? If you talk about in this context, right? You like this definition, okay? So what you are going to do is when you put it in the documentation, right? So you write it on the documentation with your own words, okay? Whatever you learned from here, you write it in the documentation with your own words under the section of literature survey. And in the references, let me show you how references work, guys. If you go down here, you will see the section for references. A reference looks like this, guys. Okay, generally you might have heard about the research papers and literature reviews and stuff, right? They use this section of references for referring to other papers from where they have collected information, right? Since you are collecting it from different websites, maybe some of us are interested to collect it from books, you can put that in the form of a reference. Like for example, now whatever you have written, right, after writing it, you put a number and make a reference to this particular website. So I'll copy this website and maybe paste it here for reference. Okay, so I hope you can understand that that's what is called as referencing. Okay, meaning from where did you get the data which you referred to. Okay, so I hope you can understand, guys, this is what is meant by referencing. Okay, so you write a literature review and then you reference it. Okay, so hopefully you can understand the context here. Then you have proposed methodology, the methods which you have used in this case. Like for example, you have used maybe like you extracted the data and then maybe looked into the different context here, right? So like for example, cleaning the data, then you go about like processing the data for any particular checks or errors and stuff. All of those things will be under the case of the proposed methodology or methods which you have used, right? Chapter 4 is basically nothing but implementation and results, or because you are going to implement, right? When you talk about the implementation, you might have your code implementation and everything, which you go ahead and put in your chapter 4, right? And results is nothing but you might have done some kind of comparative analysis. Okay, you might have compared different models like SVM. Maybe you might have discussed about support vector machine. I mean, sorry, random forest. You might have discussed about like different decision trees to talk about. I mean, you might have used extreme gradient boosting, as a matter of fact, whatever, right? So whatever you are using, right, you go ahead and talk about that stuff in the results, right? And then you have the discussion and conclusion, right? So finally you conclude that whatever you have learned in the project, right, you talk about the entire thing in detail about the project. Okay, so I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone, guys. And like here, guys, there's a list of figures you also put in, right, in the particular page number. So you put after you prepare the entire documentation, only then you move forward to this section after you have finalized where each component is lying. Because guys, if you finalize it before, you are going to face issues, right? If you talk about, right, maybe you might add some more sections, and that's why the figure number 5 is getting shifted to from previous page of 20 to maybe it is getting shifted to maybe 7, right? I hope you can understand the context, right? So make sure to be adding the list of figures is should be done afterwards. Okay, we talk about the tables and stuff, right? With if you have any in your project, right, you can put that. Should contain these few sections, right? Describe the problem being addressed, problem statement. What is your motivation of taking this project, right? What are the objectives in your project? Like what all things you are thinking of sorting out, right? Yeah, what is the different scope of the project as well, right? So what are the limitations and stuff, okay? So hopefully you can understand the context here. And then there's the literature survey. You basically have different kinds of literature or previous work which has been done in this domain, right? So you have all sorts of different things which are particularly part of it, right? Any existing models, techniques, or in fact methods which are part of the particular problem. Okay, so I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone. Okay, so then under the proposed methodology, You can have your system design, the one which you are going to create with flow charts and stuff, right? You can describe each part of your, each and every component of your system design in this section, okay? That you collected the data from so and so source, right? You did data, I mean, pre-processing, right? Then you explain what is pre-processing a bit, right? Then you go into, let's say, data cleaning. Under pre-processing, you can put it as A and B, right? So something in those lines, if you talk about, right? So that's what is proposed methodology talking about, right? If you have subsections, you can put those or you can remove those, okay? So in this case, I mean, registration recognition is not required. So I'm just like, it is just a overall thing to talk about, okay? So modules used, whatever you have used as modules, like for example, for maybe converting the medical record, so it might be existing in PDF form. What are the different modules which you have used, maybe to text form, right? If you are doing that sort of a project, right, you can mention those. Like maybe one of the famous modules which are basically used is nothing but called as PyPDF2, okay? This is one of a very I mean, one of the famous modules in Python, which helps you to what do you say, convert or extract text from PDF to in the form of a text, okay? So we can talk about that in the subsection. Like, I'm just giving an example, guys, okay? So and all of these things are pretty much part of it and stuff, right? You can talk about the advantages and stuff, right? In case you want to mention, right, implementation and results, right? So you talk about the different sorry, guys, you talk about the different results which you found out from the entire analysis, right? You talk about that, okay? So, and then obviously, guys, the last idea is to have this, guys, very, 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 very important, GitHub link of the project. Because, guys, after you do the deployment, right, you should understand one thing, guys. See, when you create a project, right, the more public side it is of your project, like for example, you are publishing your project on GitHub, it's a public platform, right? You can always share that link for anyone to tell you, I mean, easily shortlist your profile furthermore for any kind of a job posting, because you might have maintained a well established GitHub profile, right? If you talk about, right? So it's important in that context as well, okay? So I told you about the video recording, maybe you talk about the limitation, future work, if any, and the conclusion, which you can finally say that what this thing is capable of sorting out for, right, and stuff, okay? So hopefully, guys, it's understandable by everyone, guys, okay? And guys, you can also whatever code you are writing, okay, if you want to put your entire code, you can also put that in your appendix, okay? The appendix section is for code snippet. So something whatever code again, this is what you say, optional, by the way. Those of us who are interested into putting something, you can have this section, okay? Else you can remove it or maybe not have it within the section, okay? So let me see. With both text-based and image-based analysis, yes, you can, Gia. You can do a lot of interesting things, right? So both text-based and image-based analysis can also be done, right? So obviously, the context here is, so some better resources for see, I will guide you through creating the project, guys, okay? In case we have any issues, right? But obviously, guys, you have to put in your own effort while creating it. And also, guys, there will be, like, I'll demonstrate some few parts of the project, okay? So I hope you can understand the context here. So guys, let me quickly move forward with the demonstration part a bit, okay, for today. And then maybe whatever will remain, we'll take it up in the next forthcoming session, okay? So guys, let's have a look. I hope my screen is visible to all of us, right? Um, Sahil, anything is possible. as long as you have the will to do it. Okay, so yes, it is possible in a 4 week span. It is more than enough time because you're going to be very focused on your project, right? The idea here is to work on with the, so we are going to talk about the tools and stuff. You can talk about different kinds of tools and stuff, and have a look at them. Okay, so I hope you can understand the context. Okay, can I use Google Colab? Yeah, you can use Google Colab as well, as long as it is not affecting anyone, right? So obviously you can use Google Colab for your projects as well. Okay, so can we use Jupyter Notebook extension or VS Code to develop the whole project on VS? Yes, Gautam, you're free to choose anything. Okay, you're free to choose any code editor which you seem fit for yourself. Okay, so I hope it's understandable. Anyways, let's have a quick look at few things. Okay, and understand the concepts here. So hopefully guys, things are visible and all things are audible as well. Okay, so guys, let me go to the project section a bit. Okay, so I have this, right? So guys, let's quickly talk about it. Maybe just a second. Yeah, hopefully we can understand the context here. Let's quickly talk about it here, guys. So, guys, let me have first of all, guys, let me quickly introduce you with the things. Okay, so guys, I mean, I generally keep it very simple and straightforward. You can see, guys, this is the, I hope my command prompt window is visible to all of you, right? Please confirm once. uh, Perfect. Thank you, guys. Nikita, yes, it is necessary to use Python. Okay, because Python is a one-stop solution for all your what do you say, data science related queries and stuff. Okay, so I hope guys, let's pay attention. Okay, I'll explain you the stuff in due time, but I just wanted to show you something. Okay, first of all, like how your project might look like for example, let me go about into the let me first uh, environments. I have project 2. And I'm going to talk about these things, guys. Do not worry about it. As of now, I want to show you how once you have done everything correctly, how the things work out. Okay. So project 2, I have scripts dot activate. Let me activate. Okay. I'll let you know about the things, guys. Don't worry about it. Okay. Take the things inside of this thing, but medical diagnosis. Okay. And let me just show you guys how things work out in the context of when you have done everything perfectly. Okay. So guys, look at this. This maybe I hope all of us are able to see. Let's wait for a few seconds. I have guys, did we all, are we able to see the screen here? Jaya, the idea here is localhost is fine enough. Okay. So you can see, right? You can directly go about just putting it on the local host. But if you want to make it formal, you can go to like what do you say, AWS or GitHub as well. I told you, right? I have already just, that's why guys, I'm telling you here, please listen, okay? While I was talking about the word file, okay, when I showed you the word file, there was the last section which had GitHub. Okay, so when I talk about GitHub, you can go about putting your project after you have deployed it on the local host, right? You can deploy it on GitHub as well. Okay, so it will be very I mean it will be really very good if you are able to put it on GitHub to talk about, right? Yes, I will tell you more about the front end as well. As of now, what I am doing here is just to show you guys what will be the end product look like. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do or look into here. Okay, so once you are done with everything, once you have done everything, guys, how will it look like is what I am going to show you. Okay, so that's what we are looking into here, right? So I wrote, I mean, basically, I use the local host to host it on the if you talk about, right, you can look into the context that I have hosted this web page here, or basically using Streamlit. We'll talk about it, guys. But once you have done, right, it looks something like this, right? You have something like a select a disease to predict, maybe diabetes prediction. There are different options here, right? You have diabetes prediction, and there is heart disease prediction, Parkinson's disease, there is lung cancer, there is hypothyroid. We're going to look into it, guys, step by step. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm just showing you how exciting is the end product going to look like. Okay, so I hope you can understand. As of now, we have selected this diabetes prediction, and you can see like there are different parameters here which I can go about tuning them. Like for example, here maybe I have, let's say, number of pregnancies, the glucose level of the person, or if I talk about, right? So if you go about, like, I can change these values, by the way. Okay, even I can enter that manually. Okay, so I hope it's particularly understandable, right? I can enter those things pretty much straightforward here, right? So let me maybe have age of the person as here. I'm not just like, I hope you can understand, guys. I'm just showing you the context here. Maybe the BMI of the person is, let's say, overweight in 56 and stuff, right? And if so, you can see, guys, when I run the test, maybe it shows that the person is not diabetic, right? So based on the parameters which you have selected on top, right? This is what you mean by, what you say, the final look of the project, right? Once you are done with all sorts of things, you wind up like getting some results out of it, right? All you have to do is enter the relevant values and check it up that whether the person is diabetic or not, right? If it has been trained on enough data, right, it's going to give you a nice prediction about the model, right? So I hope you can understand the context, right? Same way, guys, if I talk about heart rate prediction, if I say, right, there are a few of these parameters, like I can go ahead and click on the context, right? Obviously, guys, right? So the whole idea here is pretty simple, right? You have a set of boxes which you can modify with the particular stuff, right? If we talk about, right? So it's looking into whether the person has heart disease test or not. So I hope you can understand the context, right? So there are, I mean, in one particular application, right, you have different things to choose from. Maybe Parkinson's disease, right? You can see the things changing again automatically, right? If you talk about, right, there are others which have been like added up here, right? So if I talk about, right, and once you are done with that, right, so you can see that it shows like maybe the person has Parkinson's disease or not, right? So I hope you can understand, right? So this is all basically what we are talking about in the context here, that you have multiple number of diseases to work on, right? And on based on those the what do you say, interface changes for you. Okay, so I hope you can understand, right? So this is how the output is going to look like, right? Just to give you an excitement about so if a person is diagnosed with certain disease, then the AI could, yeah, definitely, Praneeth, you can integrate it with a AI assistant. Definitely, you can do it. Okay, so uh, like this or any other health issues. No, see, guys, this what we are discussing is a sample. Okay, you should technically do different projects. Okay, you can, because you have overall taken what do you say, medical, what do you say, if you talk about in the context, right, medical diagnosis project, right, you can talk like, you can do some, I mean, if you are competent enough, you can take the others as well, in case you are interested. Okay, so anyways, guys, we are going to look into the context here, those, but this is for those people who are advanced in the context, like they know a bit of Python and everything, which can be looked up, right? So by the way, Ronak, the data technically, here's the thing, you should what do you say, collect the data from different kinds of web-based sources, right? But however, if you talk about, right, I mean, however, if you like, we also have the data with us here, right? If you talk about, when you log into your LMS, you'll find all the course material in your section on the left hand side. Okay, so yeah, you can do that, kidney, if you are interested, then you can do it. Okay, it's but you have to be realistic enough, guys. Okay, you can take only those things which you can finish up in the 4 weeks of the time. Okay, yeah, obviously you can change the background, you can do a lot of different things. Okay, so that this has been put up. Okay, by the way, Streamlit, the application does not directly have that particular background, right? If you talk about, right, it has been put up here. Okay, so I hope you can understand, right? So once you look into the concepts, you're going to have a better idea about how it works out. Okay, so as of now, that's what I'm saying, that it's going to like talk about in the context here, like if you look into the steps. Okay, so we are going to look into it, right, step by step, right? Those of you who are a little bit advanced and stuff, they can take up projects which are pretty much, what do you say, a little bit challenging, because as I said, you have ample amount of time, 4 weeks time, to look into the entire project. Okay, so you can put a lot of cool features there. Okay, so I think you can understand the concepts. Okay, so anyways, guys, I hope it's particularly understandable by everyone. Let me go back to the screen here. Okay, so guys, let's do one thing here, guys. Okay, so for now, I mean, we are, what do you say, going to wrap it up. So today's session, right, as I said, guys, be ready with the stuff, right? Look into the literature, look into the context which has been discussed, right? And basically, when it comes to the what do you say, I mean, the part of the things which deals with the concept. Okay, so you can always, first of all, like, look into the various aspects of the documentation and everything. Okay, so hopefully we can understand the concept here, guys. Okay, and a lot of exciting things, guys, it will come up, right? I will show you the step-by-step execution of how the things work out. Okay, in the meantime, it is good to have a background, because, guys, there's the quick homework for all of you here. Okay, the topic which has been given, right, do a thorough research on it. Okay, and anyways, guys, as I told you, right, the videos will be available for what do you say, for your reference. Okay, quite shortly and stuff. Okay, and post that, you can always look into the context which we are talking about, right? So hopefully it's understandable by everyone, guys. Okay, and let me look into the questions which have been asked from the beginning here, until for I mean, so guys, to be very frank, like Pavan sir, he'll be coming up in a few minutes, right? He's going to associate all your doubts relating to the LMS and everything. Okay, so I'll take up the technical doubts here. Okay, so unable to get to the meeting, how to mark attendance, still no voice, you're not visible. Do I teachers Vamshi Krishna, you had a doubt saying that do these sessions teach us PyTorch, TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, etc.? The thing is, Vamshi, for this, the session is not going to teach you anything. By the way, I hope you can understand the context here. Obviously, you are going to learn about scikit-learn as a library, okay, and how to use these relevant models, which are part of it, like what do you say, the machine learning models and everything. Because on a weekly basis, right, I hope you all understand that there are 4 weeks of time and you have 2 hours for each of the session, right? We are going to focus on project implementation rather than talking about the concepts here, okay? So while we are looking into the, what do you say, uh, different like I mean while I'm teaching or talking about the different libraries, right, I will tell you what are the plus points of each one of them, right? But overall, as I said, you have to work on it themselves yourselves, okay? So to answer your question, right, PyTorch and TensorFlow, we are not going to look into that aspect, okay? But however, you are welcome to try that in case you want to, if in case you have a background on those two things. Okay, so all right. So hopefully that answers your question. I think there's something called as answer the question. Okay. Okay, I think that's particularly it. So can't join the WhatsApp group. Guys, all of these questions will help you with that. Okay. Could you tell me how much time does it take to receive certification, guys? Certification thing, again, sir will be telling you. Sir, please tell us when to mark our attendance. This is not for me, guys. Good evening and stuff. We have session, offer letter, LMS password. Yes, no, for okay, fine. Sir, I have one doubt about I have selected the project implementation for personal fitness tracker. So can I join all the sessions or no need to join? I'm confused about. See, if you have selected a project, this is for Tripti, or I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing it correctly, Tripti or Tripti. If I talk about, right, implementation of the project for personal fitness tracker, right? So if you have selected that, you need to work on that project, okay? See, you don't need to be, what do you say, opposite minded with all of this, okay? So if the one which you have selected, you should work on that aspect, okay? So hopefully we can understand the context, right? So that's what I can say, okay? So if you have already taken that, okay? So maybe I think you can understand the context, okay? So can we take a screenshot if we found anything important? Yeah, definitely. Ankita, you can definitely take a screenshot of the things. Okay. No worries about it, right? I think I'm getting a hang of it. Let's see how to mark the attendance. I'm not able to join LMS, mark attendance itself, Zoom. Uh, okay. Gagandeep says, don't explain so much. Okay, so see, we have all different kinds of what do you say, people here, Gagandeep. So I will be explaining the stuff, okay? Especially if you don't have any background, I can just say the things, okay? You are already going to get the files, okay? You can download the files, and if you just want that, right, you can always go ahead and run it directly, and that's it, right? So my job here is to guide you through the things, or I mean, through the entire step process, right? To give you a better idea about how the things work out. Okay, so we are going to the coding part anyways. Like I just showed it to you anyways there, right? So the next session will be completely based on coding as to the practical implementation of the things. Okay, in the meantime, you can research. These things are pretty much very important for your entire thing to get the understanding. Okay, so hopefully you can understand the context. Okay, I'm done with that, I believe. Okay, so do we have to submit the three things? Yes, project, PPT, doc. Yes, exactly, all three of them. Then we have Rishi. Uh, Can we make heart disease prediction in this? Yeah, definitely. Samiksha, to answer your question, yes, you can, what do you say, do heart disease prediction for this internship, right? You can do one of it, right? But I'll show you four different options when we talk about it in the next session, right? You can see all the entire workflow remains the same in all the use cases, right? We'll discuss about it and stuff, okay? But you can obviously make heart disease prediction as a matter of fact, okay? To put attendance, can I know how to access the LLM? By the way, Devrat Kumar, LLM is not part of the internship here. Okay, the large language model, you have to look about that in your own free time. Okay, so as I told you here, because we have all kinds of audiences, right? We are keeping it to the basics, and it's beyond the scope of our discussions as well. Okay, so that's the whole point. I hope it's particularly clear. Will guide us in building it. Shri B, I'll be guiding you to build the project, right? Once so the idea here is like, that's what we just did now, right? So I have like we looked into the PPT and the PDF, PPT and the Word document, right? So just research on the background of the entire project. Okay, so that's what we are going to look into. Okay, so and can we do any project that comes under medicals? Sanjita, yes, you can, but provided you have a good background of coding and stuff. Okay, you can always do it. Okay, we are welcome to see different things or different approaches you have taken. Okay, so but if you are starting your career, then it's advisable to keep it to the basics. Okay, so this project is individual, no groups. Yes, it is. It does not have any groups. You are individually going to submit. Where do we have to submit the project? PPT and document, again in LMS, guys. So, sir, do we get a recorded lecture of this session? Yes, you are going to get it. Okay. Hopefully, you can all understand that from Thursday onwards, you are going to, like sir said, right? You'll be having it on your, what do you say, on the LMS. Okay. There's the playlist which we are going to create, and very soon you'll get the update on that. Okay. Any project related to medical diagnosis will work. Yes, it will work, provided condition you work like if you go beyond the scope, right? You have to look into the context on your own, right? So because as I said, this is mostly in the context of whatever like on the general public who is looking into the things. Okay, so I hope you can understand the context. Okay, so can we do any specific topic related may or specific one there is? No, you can do any topic as long as you know the concept. Attendance, submit project, any date, how to mark attendance, project. Can we diagnose mental health issues? Can we, any things related to that? Yes, Padmana, you can actually do that. Okay. Mental health issues, you can actually talk about it, right? But however, you can only do that if you know about the basics of Python and how you talk about that, right? So some says that you are comfortable with Java language. That's great, guys. But for the project, scope, you're going to use Python, okay, because we are going to standardize it, okay. So the idea here is to, since you have earlier programming language experience, right, it's okay. You can, what do you say, it will be very easy for you to pick up Python, because compared to Java, Python is quite easy. So you'll be able to get the context here, right? So, sir, will you help us? So, guys, I repeat it again. So I'm going to help you execute the project. Okay, there are video recordings going to be available. Okay, you have to make a lot of things. I mean, you have to look into the videos, you have to refer to YouTube and everything. I hope you can understand the concept here. Okay, so hopefully you can understand that that's how an interactive lesson works out. Okay, so hopefully we all understand. Sir, why are you uh, repeating the word right every time? I have a habit of doing that. That's uh, the that's the reason, guys. I'll try to reduce the word right. Do we need to talk anything while recording the video? Uh, it is always advisable to keep a note with you guys. Okay, so keep what do you say, note available every time with you, so that you can make a note of it. Will the project also consist of a web page related to the project? Yes, you saw it. Okay, and we work on Google Colab. Yes, Google Colab. Yes. So basically we can make any diagnostic system. Also we can use CNN and RAG models. Yes, you can, provided you know how to use them. Okay, so can I use Google Colab? Yes, yes. Can we use Jupyter Notebook extension versus code? Anything, guys. You are welcome to use anything. Okay, so sir, is it necessary to use the tools like as you mentioned? Are we going to use Python in this project? Yes, you are. Okay, is this PPT provided to in LMS? Yes, it will be there in your LMS. Support vector machines. I think you got the idea, right? So it's a machine learning model which is used for classifying. Okay, two different categories, right? If I talk about, right, where can we get the data set? The data set is also available, I mean, internally as well, guys. But however, it is always advisable to collect the data from the online popular sources. Like there are different sources like Kaggle, there is Google data set. You can have a look at that. Okay. So how will the attendance, I don't know, for project submission date, your voice is breaking, from where do we collect the data? And all of these things. I have pretty much a lot of things here. I think most of it is addressed. Uh, so I think, just give me a moment, guys. Okay. All right. So I hope that's pretty much the context here. So I think, guys, could be attendance. Please reply on what do you want me to reply. Ayush Ranjan said something. I don't know where he said it. Anyways, Which data set will be used for this project? Any of the medical data sets which you can talk about, right? Why we have to use ML, or can't we use GenAI? Yeah, you can use anything of that sort. Okay, GenAI, LLM, vision models, whatever you like to use, you can use it. But for the context of our discussions here, we'll be keeping it limited to ML specific. Okay, so I hope it's particularly understandable for all of us, right? If you have a background of it, you can always do that. Okay, so and access the recording video, how the attendance is marked and stuff. Draw the flow chart. How should we draw the flow chart? Draw.io, guys. Can we make use of any algorithm in machine learning? Yes, you can. You have to compare different algorithms, and based on whichever is giving you the best results, you talk about that. Okay, can we create like cancer detection system? Yes, you can, provided you know and have a background of it. Okay, so understanding ML steps for data preprocessing, ML models testing, please share. So the context is like, guys, Google, YouTube is the biggest source. Okay, if you are able to write your queries here with the specific keywords, write the queries there to find out. Because guys, this is an internship. I hope we all understand what an internship is all about, right? That it's a given that you guys have an understanding, a little bit of the understanding of Python and everything, right? So I'll be able to guide you with these steps, right? If you talk about, and when you talk about resources and everything, right? I mean, a great place to find it is what do you say, on I mean online. If you talk about, let's say, I mean some books, if you talk about, or maybe YouTube playlists, right? So especially if you talk about those, right, you can look into it and stuff. Okay, so recognizing diseases by X-ray or MRI report. Yes, you can do that. Okay, as long as you know how to use image processing and other things. Okay, so can we get the sample PPT of the project? Yes, you are going to get it. Will they record it? From where do we have to collect data? Please also provide PPT. How to start with the data. So go ahead with the mental. So, okay. So if I go ahead with a mental health chatbot, what do we expect? Any idea? Would you love to give? Okay, so I mean, when you talk about a mental health chatbot, right, you can always what do you say? First of all, you need to collect. You have to first scan through the internet for appropriate resources. Like I mean, you might be very much limited to the things because you're specifically looking for mental health problems, right? So if you are able to find data, then you can go about creating a chatbot. It's pretty straightforward as long as you know how to do it, right? So that's the whole point, right? So all right, hopefully submit this. How to chatbot part, attendance and stuff. I think most of it is looked upon. Okay. So guys, I'll be stopping the session now. Okay. Sir might not be here for like looking into the context here. So guys, for the many of the questions, for a many for a little bit which of the questions are remaining, right? It's you can as I said, guys, we also have what do you say, ask me anything session coming up. Okay, you can always ask your questions there. Okay, so let me go ahead. So guys, as of now, that's it for now. Let me stop the recording, and thanks for joining in, guys. Let's meet in the further session. Okay, so